Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new and you're stopping by for the first time, welcome. My name is Melissa and I love to do all things crafty on a budget, especially Dollar Tree DIYs, farmhouse decor, and much more. So if that's something you're interested in, I would love it if you would stick around by clicking the red subscribe button and then tap the bell and all to be notified every single time I upload. If you don't click that bell and then all, YouTube picks and chooses which videos it will alert you on, so you definitely don't want to miss out on anything. I have so much coming up for the holiday season. I have something for my Cricut lovers, something for my people who don't have a Cricut. I have all kinds of stuff. For those of you that have been asking about my truck transfer, I will have that link down in the description box below. Also, I wanted to announce that you guys, I am so excited. I created t-shirts. If you guys want to be a part of the craft squad, then definitely go down right below this video and you will see some t-shirts that are for sale. It does help my channel out and it gives me some funds to be able to buy all the craft supplies. So anyway, I did want to mention that there is a black and white version of this in sweatshirts, dog outfits, kids shirts, women's shirts, men's shirts. I mean, you guys, there's a ton of stuff. Also, there is another design that is also down below, so you guys should see it when you're watching my video from a phone. If you are watching it with your phone up and down, then it should be below. If you're watching it full screen, just turn your phone and it'll pop up, and then same thing on a computer. If you're watching it full screen, you're not going to see it, and then if you're not full screen, you will see it down below. So, I know that was a long intro. I'm sorry, you guys. Let me know in the comments down below if you'd rather a face-to-face intro or if you would just rather a voiceover intro. I always want to know your guys' opinions. Be nice in the comments down below. You never know what somebody is going through. Also, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoy it. Also, share it with your family and friends if you think that they would like it. Those shares and those thumbs up really help my channel to grow, as well as leaving a comment down below introducing yourself if you're new. And as usual, let me know in the comments down below which project is your favorite. I'm always curious to know because it helps me to put out content that I know you guys will enjoy. So, with all that being said, last but not least, I want to thank Flexispot for sponsoring this video, and let's jump right into today's DIYs. Okay guys, 1:30 in the morning, me here. But you know what? Tonight I am sitting back, relaxing, and doing this voiceover for you. So first we're going to start off with the gnome. I take this little tree from Christmas Tree. Yeah, I'm already messing up. From Dollar Tree, and I just take this tinsel off of it by cutting it right up one of the sides and then taking it off. I then just take this little baby blanket from Dollar Tree as well, and I just kind of wrap it around and measure it at first. I start with that corner. I had already cut it for something else, but you can kind of cut a corner because these corners are rounded rather than pointed. So I start in a pointed corner that was already cut, and then I glue it, and then I glue the plastic tree form down, and then I just go around and wrap it around. And prior to wrapping it, I did just measure like the bottom, and I cut along that piece just so that I could get it as even as possible. And then once I have it wrapped all the way around the tree, then I go underneath and I wrap that as well and glue it with hot glue. So I found this really cool greenery from Dollar Tree, and I knew that I can make this gnome's mustache with this, just the way that it is laid out. That's how I got the idea in my head. So I just cut them off the picks. I only used 2 bunches for this, and then I just went around using the bigger pieces and I glued them down with hot glue. Once I had all the main pieces glued, then I went in and I just filled in any bare spots with the smaller branches. So at the top, this didn't really want to stick to it. It kind of kept popping up the pieces that weren't flush with the little blanket that was wrapped around. So I just took some jute and I wrapped around the top so that it stayed taut, and then I went in again and filled in any more blank spots. I got this buffalo check tree skirt, and I took it out of the package, and then I took my measuring tape. I was having trouble here because I didn't have like a sewer's measuring tape, and I just measured around, and then I took my ruler, and I had this fabric from, I believe I got it at Walmart, and I thought that it would look really cute as a hat on this little gnome. So I measured out the bottom, and it was about the length of this ruler. So I just measured the bottom, and then I made marks in a point. I cut it out, and then I just ran hot glue up each side. Once I did the hot glue, I let it set up really good before I messed with it anymore, and then I flipped it around. I quickly figured out that I wanted to fold up the edges, so I did turn it back around, fold the edges, and glue that. Before I did that, I made a tassel. I wrapped some jute around my fingers a bunch of times. I took it off my fingers. I tied a knot, or I got another piece and then tied a knot at the top, holding them all together, and then cut the ends, and then cut any of the ones that were longer than the other pieces. So I put my tassel aside. Like I said, I glued the bottom pieces up just to have a more finished edge, and then I took the fuzzy part of this tree skirt and I just cut that fuzz off. Originally I was going to try to make a hat out of this tree skirt, but because the middle had a hole in it, it was not big enough to fit on my little guy's head, so I just used the fabric that I had in my stash. Once I had the fabric cut off of the tree skirt, then I go in with some hot glue and I just go ahead and glue that down. Once I had it glued, I stuck the hat on our little gnome, and it still was a little bit big, so in the back I just glued it together to make it a little bit more tight. What you can do for this is just make the bottom a little bit smaller than I did. So I would probably do 8 inches long, and then I folded over the top of his hat. I took another piece of jute and strung it through the middle of our tassel, and then I just tied it all the way to the end of our hat. So I thought I was done here, and then I thought that he was missing a little something, so I did make a simple bow out of some ribbon that I got from Dollar Tree. Actually, I got it from Walmart. First I made first I glued down a unfinished wooden bead for his nose right under that hat. And then here is my bow trick. I usually link a video, but I figured for all my new subscribers I would show you this bow trick. You will get a perfect bow every single time. Now I will say it doesn't work too great with bigger ribbon. I've never tried maybe wrapping it around all 4 of my fingers and then just opening my fingers in the middle. If you want, you can try it. Maybe one day I'll try it and let you know, but I'm not going to try to explain how to do this because it's already tricky enough, and to try to explain it, it's just but anyway, if you need to go back and watch this over and over again, you certainly can to learn this trick. But once you get it down, it is extremely easy and you will have perfect bows every single time. So once I had my bow all done, then I just took my mini scissors from Dollar Tree and I just cut dovetails in the end. And then last but not least, I glued my bow right to the top of our little tassel. And that is it for this cute little gnome, you guys. I love him so much. When I had the vision in my head, I wasn't too sure, but I am really pleased with the way it turned out. Okay guys, so today I want to talk about Flexispot. What is Flexispot? They are a company who specializes in thinking about the customer as far as their health and being more productive and having a healthier body. So they had reached out to me and wanted to send me their new Vicky stand to sit electric desk. And when I heard that it was a desk, I was really excited because, as most of you know, if you've been around for any amount of time, you know that I live in a small house. It is what it is. I am thankful for everything I have, so I am in no way, shape, or form complaining. But it does get a little tricky when I'm trying to film. I have a lot of equipment, and sometimes I just don't have enough room on this desk to have all my supplies as well as be able to film for you guys. So like I said, when they reached out and wanted to send me a desk, I was really excited to review this product. Okay guys, so I want to start off with how nicely packaged it comes. It comes in one box and it ships really fast. It also is really quick to put together. I put it together myself in about 5 minutes and my husband just held the pieces so that I could screw them in. So they have 13 warehouses across the US, so that means that you get really fast shipping. They have gained the trust of many influencers, so you know it's a trusted company. And this desk is height adjustable and it goes from 28.7 inches to 48.4 inches and holds up to 110 pounds. You can sit to stand in literally 10 seconds with just the push of a button. So how do you get this amazing product? It's easy. You just click the link in the description box and use my code for $15 off. You guys, this is a perfect gift for a gamer, or if you just like to stand up to work and maybe sit to work. It holds a lot. It holds my sewing machine and my Cricut and probably a ton of other stuff. If you had 2 monitors in your workstation, it could definitely hold that as well. So get one for yourself or for somebody else as a gift today, because I promise you guys this product is awesome and you will not regret it. So I want to thank Flexispot for sponsoring this video. Moving on to our next project, I take this Mary sign from Dollar Tree and I just cut that jute twine off the back. It was like a little hanger on there and we won't need it, so I just cut it off, and then I gave it a really good coat of white Waverly chalk paint. So I got this basket weaving roll from Amazon. I will link it down below. I saw Araceli Chan make a tobacco basket with this stuff. You guys, this is not my idea. I will leave her channel in the description box. She does amazing crafts. I'm always blown away by the stuff that she does, but I wanted to give credit where credit is due. Although she did not make this exact basket, this is actually a design that I had in my head. I actually have one like this. So anyway, I just wanted to give her credit because she originally made a basket with this material. So again, I wanted to give her credit, but basically I just measured out cross pieces. I then measured out more pieces. I wove them through like a basket, glued all the pieces down. I then measured out cross pieces for the X's, and then I glued those down on top. And a little tip, if you guys are going to do this, I'll leave the link to the roll of this in the description box. It's really easy to work with, but definitely make sure your ends are a little bit longer. If you can see on the right hand side, I left my pieces a little bit too short, so when I went to do this part, it didn't stand upright. But when you go to do the end piece, which is what I'm doing now, basically to get your tobacco basket to kind of stand up a little bit, the way you do that is with this edge piece. And if your pieces are not long enough, it's not going to work as good. So although for my first try, I think that it turned out really amazing, next time I'll definitely be making my end pieces a little bit longer so that I have more to work with. But basically when you have all your pieces woven and the X done, then you take a piece, and I did not cut it off the roll, I just let it hang, and I took some clips and I went all the way around the edge. And you want to pull your corners really, really tight because that is what is going to keep it upright. So once I had the whole edge done, then I went back because I did the long piece and the edge piece on the inside. I then just took another piece and I went around it again on the outside. Again, I used hot glue and I used little clamps from Dollar Tree to hold the pieces together, just so that way I didn't have to hold it while it was drying. And then I moved on to the next part. So once I had my basket completely finished, then I went in with my favorite stain, Jacobian, and I took a paper towel and just stained the entire front. For time purposes, I did not do the back side, but I will go back in later on and do the back side. So if you're recreating it, then I would definitely stain the whole thing. I put that aside to dry, and then I just take my little Mary sign and my chip brush and antique wax and dry brush all the way around the edges, and then I also make brush strokes throughout the whole thing, going up and down to kind of make it look like faux wood. I wish I would have did it a little bit more, but I'm still happy with the way it turned out. So after I did that, then I made a simple bow out of some black and red buffalo check ribbon and glued that to the top of the deer. I then played around with some berries for the bottom of this. I originally had out some berries from Dollar Tree, but I really didn't like the way that they looked, so I just took these picks from Walmart. They were 98 cents a piece, and I just liked the way that these looked better. They weren't so full, and I took some wire from Dollar Tree It's the skinny floral wire, and I wrapped it around to keep them together, leaving a longer strand on the end, and then wrapped it around the middle piece at the bottom of the basket. I then just took a command strip and I stuck it on the back of the Mary. I didn't want this to be permanent, so that's why I'm using a command strip, but if you want it to be permanent, then definitely just use hot glue. And I also wanted to mention, next time I make this basket, I will be doubling up the pieces just because it's a bit flimsy. It's not like so flimsy that this sign didn't stay on there, but next time I definitely want to make it a bit more sturdy. Next, I just take a piece of ribbon, and this is actually from Dollar General. I got it last year, and I did see it this year, but I had this roll from last year. It's the black and white buffalo check. I just made 3 loops, and then I cut it, took another longer piece behind it, and then tied a knot in the middle with some jute, took another piece and wrapped it around the middle so you didn't see that jute. I did leave the strands to the jute just so that way I could tie it to the back. Tied that to the back, fluffed my bow up, and then I cut dovetails when I saw this bow on my tobacco basket, so that way I could know how long I wanted the tails. And of course, last but not least, I take my chip brush and some antique Waverly chalk paint, white Waverly chalk paint, and I dry brushed all the way around my basket. I'm loving this basket as well, you guys. As usual, I cannot pick a favorite, but I know you guys will leave in the comments down below which one was your favorite. Moving on to the Into the Woods sign, I take this tag from Dollar Tree that I got in the fall decor. I took the sticker and the hanger off, sanded down the sticky part where the sticker was, and then I used my Dyson to clean it up. This is also linked in my Amazon favorites. It is one of my most used tools when I'm crafting. It's so easy just to pop off the wall, vacuum up my space, and then pop it back. I use it probably 20 times while I'm crafting just because I'm OCD about dust, and you know what I'm saying. But anyway, I give the tag a coat of white Waverly chalk paint. I then took Steel by Waverly chalk paint and I dry brushed the whole thing. I went pretty heavy because I did want this to look like faux wood as well. And then once I had that done and it was dry, then I took some graphite paper by Arteza. They did send me some products, but this I actually bought on my own, and I definitely recommend it. It works wonders. So the link to Arteza will be in the description box. I then use my paint pens from Arteza, and I go over the trees with gold, or it's actually bronze, and then the deer black, the into with green, or into the with green, and then woods with that bronze color again. I forgot to mention that I did trace this on. I seen a picture on Google, so I just printed it off and then traced it on there. Once I had all my wording and the trees and stuff went over with my paint pen, I had these little, I don't even know what you want to call them, but I got them off Amazon in there's a bunch of them in there. I don't even know how many pieces, but it's a lot, and I'll leave the link to those below too. It came with a bunch of different shapes, but I just took out some snowflakes. I went over them with some Mod Podge, and then I took my glitter from Arteza in the bronze color, and I just went over those, shook them off, and then I glued them all down. Again, you can find these paint pens and the glitter in the link that I'll leave as well in Arteza. You guys, I love these paint pens. You guys know I'm a paint pen snob. I'm really particular about my paint pens, and these just go on so creamy and so dark. Sometimes when I'm using paint pens, it takes a couple passes to get that really thick color the way that I like it, and these get that really thick color every single time. So once I had that done, then I go in with my jute twine. I just tie it to the top of this tag where there's already a hole. I leave excess off so that I could bead these beads through, or whatever you want to call it, and I will leave the link to these beads in the description box as well. I tied a loop at the top so we can hang it, and boom, another cheap, easy, high-end looking sign. So I got these little containers from Dollar Tree, and I knew that I wanted to make a little deer tea light candle out of these. So I just take some dowel rods, and I kind of measure how long I want the legs, and then I sand them down after I just cut them with scissors. I then just cut 2 smaller pieces, and I connected them for like the deer's head, one on top of the other. I then just glued that down to my little tin, and then glued the legs to the bottom of that while my hot glue was still hot. I then cut 2 more little pieces for the tail, glued them together, again, one on top the other for the tail pointing up, and then I glued that. First I sanded. You guys, I cannot stand this when I do this. Sorry, you guys. I'm like tripping over my words. I'm falling asleep. Anyway, I glued them together. I glued that to the back of this guy, and then glued the back legs to that as well. So I then grabbed a skewer, and I cut little teeny pieces. They were so small I had to use my pliers to glue them down, but I just made antlers, so I cut a little bit of a longer piece and then 2 tiny pieces, and I glued them on each side to look like antlers. Once I had my little antlers done, then I glued them to the top of this little deer's head. So after I glued that down, then it was just time to paint. So I didn't want to paint this, so I just spray painted it with some bronze spray paint. Can you see a little trend going on here? And no, that was not intentional. That one was really quick and easy. It only took me like 10 minutes. So moving on to the last one that is probably my favorite. I don't know. It's in between the gnome and this one, but I took 3 beware signs. I cut one of them in half, and then on the 2 longer ones, I cut the edges off where they were kind of like serrated, and then I just took a ruler and cut pieces on a slant, and then I just used that piece to cut the other pieces, kind of like a template. So for the bigger ones, I did cut them a little bit longer, and then for the ones I cut in half, obviously they're a little bit shorter, but if that makes no sense, you can see what I'm doing here. I then just take my large popsicle sticks and I glue all these pieces together. Once I had all my pieces glued on, you want to make sure you use a lot so that this is nice and sturdy. I then just used my crimson Waverly chalk paint, and I gave it a really good coat of that beautiful red color. It looks bright when it's wet, but once it dries down, it's like the perfect barn red color. I really love it, and you guys, this is crazy. I literally had just enough to cover this sign in this red, so I definitely need to get more, but I was nervous there for a minute. Anyway, I take some large popsicle sticks, I measure them on my little slants and then cut them down, and then we're going to work on the doors and the windows for this project. So I had these skinny sticks from Walmart, and they come in a pack. There's a bunch in there. I cut pieces down for the door. I cut one in half and then used 2 whole ones. So obviously the half pieces are going to be on the top and bottom, and then the long pieces are going to be on the side. They weren't quite long enough to make the X pieces in the door, so I did just take a large popsicle stick. I cut the ends off and then took my utility knife to just cut skinnier pieces, and I basically cut the larger popsicle stick in 4. Then I just assemble my pieces. Once I cut the large popsicle stick down, I did cut it down to make the X, and then, like I said, I connected all the pieces. So for the window, I basically did the same thing. I cut the skinny stick down a little bit smaller than half because I wanted my windows skinnier, and then I cut a longer piece for the bottom because I wanted it to kind of look like a windowsill. And then I took my hot glue, I glued that down, and then I measured 1 cross piece for the middle and then 3 going the other way. So basically you're going to have 6 panes in this window. If that makes no sense whatsoever, because sometimes, you guys, when it's coming out and I'm doing these voiceovers, I feel like I'm not making any sense. You guys say that I do, but anyway, like I said, you can see what I'm doing here. So once I had that longer piece down, I don't know if I mentioned that I did lay it down and cut it down to size and then glued everything together. I took my white Waverly chalk paint, and for the roof pieces and the windows and the barn doors, I did give them all a really good coat. So while they're drying, I take my ruler and I make a mark every 3 inches. I then take the ruler and I use my black paint pen, and I didn't feel like pulling out my Arteza paint pen again, so I did just use the one that was right in front of me because I was on a time crunch, and I went over those marks that I had already made with the ruler, and then I sanded them down because I thought that they were just a little too bright. And then, surprise, surprise, I take my chip brush and some ink Waverly chalk paint, and I just give it a really good coat, a really good dry brushing all the way around the edges. And then I start in the middle by going over the lines that I made, and then I go in between the lines. You can do that as much or as little as you want, but I really like it darker on this side just because it makes it look old and rustic, in my personal opinion. I then just went in and did the same thing on the white roof pieces. I printed off this wreath from Google, traced it on with my graphite paper, and then I went over it with my green Arteza paint pen. And you can see here just how good this paint pen is. I wasn't sure if you could really see it on top of this red, but once I went over it, I was like, holy crap, this looks so good. And I printed off home, and then I went over it with my white Arteza paint pen. And again, usually whites are funny on paint pens, you guys. Like, some whites do not show up at all. I have the hardest time with, and these I did not. I also printed off for the holidays, traced that on and went over it with the white paint pen as well. And then I took this black cardstock from Dollar Tree. I cut or I traced where the windows are and then cut those out and glued them down, just so that way, I don't know, I like the way it looked like this. You can let me know in the comments down below if you would leave out the black cardstock or if you would put it on there. So I just kind of clean up my hot glue strings. They drive me nuts. And then once I had that all cleaned up, I just glued down the doors and the windows. And although this took me a little bit of time, just because, you guys, I don't, like I said before, I don't do a trial run. So when I'm doing these projects, kind of figuring out how to get it together is a bit tricky, and then to do it again, it's really, really easy. But anyway, I went over the doors and the windows with this ink Waverly chalk paint, and then that was it, you guys. I love this sign so much. I haven't even decorated for Christmas yet, and I already have it up on my little cubes storage stand, or whatever you want to call it. But thank you guys so much for sticking around with me. Thank you for sticking around for the long intro and the ad for Flexispot. You guys, I really truly love this desk. I'm sitting at it right now. But anyway, thank you guys so much for stopping by. Thank you for all the love and support and kind comments. You guys have no idea how much it means to me. I love each and every one of you with everything I have in me, and I appreciate every single one of you. Don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoy it. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share it with your family and friends. Check out my t-shirts. Check out all the links down below. It really helps my channel and supports me to keep this channel up and running for free. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye.